First, I'd like to invite our president, Klaus Mainzer, to give a short introduction, and we are always looking forward to your short description of or announcement of the talks. So, Klaus, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dušan. Old tradition, and it's my pleasure to open now our new session and Arts Meet Science. And now we start not only with a new presidium and senate in the academy, but also with an extended team, which will moderate our serious Arts Meet Science now. And perhaps you know that our academy has some goals now for the new presidency, and one of these goals is to become more female. And I think at least the first talk is a nice example for that. In the academy, we start with a new presidium with 3 ladies, 2 professors of law, and 1 professor, women professor of theology. And as you know, the series was also mainly initiated by a women professor of music, Violeta Dinescu. And this evening, the event will be moderated by a women professor of medicine, Barry. And the topic of this evening is dedicated to China's first female architect in art, architecture, and literature. By the way, my own relationship to this goal is that since many years I'm in a board, advisory board of a center in Germany for the history of women philosophers and women scientists. Now, anyway, that's a motivation to learn more about this evening about the first female architect in China. The second talk is also related to an urgent demand of our academy, namely to become even more interdisciplinary and intercultural. Because the second talk will consider the development of sound awareness. That means the evolution of human consciousness, and that not only from a biological point of view as biological evolution, but also in the sense of cultural studies, metaphorical aspects, cultural aspects, even metaphysical aspects of this kind of development. And so I think we are now in the beginning of a good way in the sense of our goals and demands for the new presidency. And I wish us all exciting discussion and pleasant talks. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think it's my turn now. Thanks for the introduction, Mr. Mainzer. It's a little bit unconventional with the introduction now of the 2 speakers, because I think we have a little bit an unconventional procedure here, that we have actually 2 academics, 2 scientists who are really interdisciplinary. Of course, they have their main area, but it is characterizing, if I look at the work, at the CVs, that they're both not only specialists, but at the same time taking a broad approach to what it means, and what it means to take responsibility as academics, which is actually to look broader, to look in a broader spectrum. First, yes, it's Yue Zhao, who is currently in China, working as oncologist in Cologne, and saying working as oncologist. I'm already hesitating because, yes, that is a specific area, but at the same time, we talked in Salzburg recently as well about it. It is about bringing arts as parts into the treatment of people who are suffering from cancer. And I think it is an important point that medicine, whichever area, including oncology, is not just about a technical, so to say, technical procedure, but it is to look at the entirety of a human being, what it is, and that means, of course, to look at society, the conditions as well. I think it is important, always important to keep this in mind. And having mentioned that she is in China currently, it is important as well to look at Chinese philosophy, the specific concept of harmony, which is actually difficult to understand for us, not being used to this way of thinking. And I'll continue immediately to introduce Pavlos Kavouras, because that's linking as well in the same way interdisciplinary. It is about music in terms of professional background. It is about natural science. It is about cultural anthropology. And it is about what he says is metaphysics. We briefly talked about it. It's philosophy. And it is really, again, this understanding of what we are, where we are, and in which way we live, and we live together, or we don't live together. In this way, I'm really happy that I could start with this introduction, or with the moderating of this session. As Mr. Manson said already, it's about the female architect in China. And it is not just being a woman, but the term female has a specific additional meaning there, that it is really a special approach to thinking and to dealing with the world. There's a huge debate about it, but I think it is important, and you will first start with her presentation. I'll give the floor to you, and thank you already.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter, and thank you so much for Klaus. Yeah, so today I'm actually very honored, but also very nervous because I'm from another field, but also somehow actually the original plan is I invited Beverly Canning. So she's a research partner, for Jet Oncology. So she was actually planned to give a talk today. But unfortunately, she has another duty. So this is the reason that Violeta asked me if I could present. So hopefully we can still have Beverly, so she's really also amazing. So she's like the patient advocate for geriatric oncology from New York. And hopefully she can give us the talk in the future about old adults in healthcare and health aging. And then I was thinking about my topic, so I think it's also the reason that to become in the family of EASA is give me more courage, to explore the interaction between art and science. So, and also this reason that I'm thinking about, I also like art as I like architecture. When I discussed this with Vili, I think it's also very nice that Vili gave me also kind of encouragement to thinking about why not to share about the female architect from China. So this is the reason that I choose this topic. Lin Huiyin, I think maybe most of you didn't know her or heard about her, but she's really the Chinese first female architect who has a lot of talent in art, architecture, and also literature. So I hope that I can convince you in the following 20 or 25 minutes. And this is the books and reference and documentaries I refer to concerning about the content of this talk today. So, yeah. And so why Lin Huiyin today, right? So Lin Huiyin was like, he passed, how to say, over 70 or 80 years ago. And it's like a historical people. somehow, if you kind of Google Lin Huiyin, or this is actually also the keywords what will show up in the ChatGPT, it's really to give you a very impressive cross-interdisciplinary passions about her. Visionary, humanistic, interdisciplinary, resilience, and architectural, culture, historical. So for me, I think I want to give the structure like here. I want to talk about life journey of Lin. So starting from her childhood time and go to the education, because you may be very impressed about how she have the education experience in Europe and also United States, and then have the career in China, even the republication of China, and also later the People Republic of China as a mission for her architecture career. So here to show you some historic photos. So Lin Huiyin was born in Hangzhou. It's also a very beautiful city in China. And then she also spent the childhood in Shanghai for a short time. And later she moved to Beijing, where he also go to the middle school there. It was a females, like a girls' school, which was be run by the British Church. So this is also the reason that she can also get education for in English for her further education. And she was actually during that time in China, actually the woman, or the girls have very limited opportunity to get education. But it's very rare or very precious that he get the opportunity because his family was rich, and also his father was also a politician. So this is the reason that she have a very good chance to get educated. So to make things easier, so I was very motivated to show you. This is like a note. It's in Chinese and in English. So it's a note that she described as a feeling or beautiful loneliness when she was sick, actually, when she was like a 6 year older, So she was lying on bed, and she's using the word, to recall a space to embrace the emotions and the beauty of the light in the structure of the space. I think this is maybe also to show how the early feelings of her concerning about content combine the writing and also the space and architecture. And then I go to the education part. So basically, so she's actually the oldest daughter in the family. So therefore, she was very lucky to be taken by her father, who was called Lin Changming. He's also like a famous scholar or government officer and politician in China during that time. So she was able to spend 1 year with her father in Europe. Most of the time was in London. Here I also show you a picture which was generated by AI to show a view that her father actually write to her. So I'm taking you with me on this long journey for three purposes. So first, that you may observe the conditions and the customers of different nations, thereby to enlarging your knowledge and broaden your intellectual horizon. Second, that the father want to come to apparent the scope of my mind and idea of a hope. Third, that the father want to be expand the vision.
The connection is lost.
I sent a message to her.
So as here you also can see that Lin Huiyin, I feel our growing, so this is already even she's very young, but she already have the sense of literature during that time. Very importantly, also in UK or in London, so she was influenced by a friend who was study architecture. So what he also get big influence. What she discovered in London is that the architecture was actually not only simply a technique practice, but also a way of thinking, one that brings together artistic creation and everyday life. So she offers her a very unique possibility to connect what she left with what she has capable of, and also to give the form of both the beauty and function. So I think it's also very important that during that time, so when a woman chooses her vocation, so she's also incensed to choosing a way of engaging with the world. So in Lin Huiying's case, the choice does not this choice does not only remain the individual, but also became a personal calling, gradually become a shared intellectual project with Liang Sichen, which later become her husband. So I don't know if you heard about Liang Sichen. Actually, he's even more famous in China because she was also like Chinese architecture, and she was also to be called as a father of the modern Chinese architecture. But if you see that when Liang Sichen as a student, in the school, so the note to describe her is like an artist with a political mind, and also somehow to also like painting, and also he also very talented for music and sports. So basically during that time, Liang Sichen was like want to study art, but still not very clear about what he want to like eventually study. So with this, actually Lin Huiyin has a very big impact on him. So Lin Huiyin described his dreams or vision as architecture, which also make Liang Sichen getting more and more clear that okay, architecture, which was the art and science of design and building. So therefore, he also made the decision that to study architecture later in the United States. So which make Liang Sichen a perfect partner for Lin Huiyin for the mission of the architecture. So this is also a very beautiful note from Liang Sichen that architecture is the characterization of a nation's culture, acting as a profound symbol of this culture identity. And so this also to show you that how the grow up of Lin Huiyin, right, from a student also to be a scholar. So this is also to show when he was like 19 years old, still very young. So she's the first publication is that he translate and work from the Nightingale and the Rose from the Oscar Wilde, into Chinese, and also he painting this cover by his journal to show her budding of the literature and art about her talent. I think this is also the way of her to show the expression of her, how to say, the thought for the space of the ideas and thought. And later, she also participating and dedicating to the culture group in China, which called the Crescent Moon Society. So this society was also very famous during that time in China before the Second World War. And as you can see that Liang Sichen and Lin Huiyin, so they also accompanied the very famous portrait, the Tagore, so in Beijing when he visited China. And Lin Huiyin even performance, as a character from the book of the Tagore. So to celebrate Tagore's 36th birthday when he was celebrated in China. So all this experience actually to build her passion and also her decision, go to art. So actually after this visit, so she was already planned to apply architecture in the United States. So basically during that time, so people may know that University of Pennsylvania was one of the top for the architecture. She really tried a lot, to study architecture there, but however, it will be rejected. Why? Because she was a woman. So during that time, women was not accepted, to study architecture there. So therefore, but she still insists, to be study fine art in the university, the same university, but she was able to allow, to be editor to lessen all the course from the architecture education. So basically, as you can see, during this like 2 years, so she was able to complete 23 architecture course, and so which was one of the most numbers female student which able to be accomplished at that time. And also she was the first woman to complete the 5 design, sequence during that time. And she also get most distinguished academic performance and to earn the majority of the credits in architecture. Interestingly, so she's even to appointed as an instructor during that time for the university because of her high improvement. This is also an article I find it actually published recently, so this is actually the granddaughter of Lin, and also another scholar to publish in this journal to show that remember
I don't know, did I lose the sound only myself or everybody?
Everybody.
I'm in contact with her.
Yeah, everybody is moving, but that picture is even frozen.
Yes.
Yeah, so they actually give the degree also to other women, but
Again.
sorry, I
No.
was in a hotel, so therefore my Wi-Fi maybe was not very stable. Hope you can see this again. Can you
Now we
see my
can, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, is this normal screen or it's like with the script?
Yes, we saw that slide.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. And also during university time, you can also see that Lin Huiyin also show her as artistic design. Basically, she designed the covers, for the journals, and she also designed the holiday greeting card for the university. So, which was also very impressive artistic work during that time. Later, so she was studying Yale, so which was also to show her passion on different field. So he didn't. He decided to
Yes.
study drama for the
Miss Zhao,
department.
could you please enlarge the picture? We see
Yeah.
a small size of it.
Okay.
Please
So
do.
I think it's because of the of my screen share.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's smaller.
Okay, yeah. So I try to make it like this. Is it getting better now?
Yes,
Yes.
perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
okay. Yeah, thank you. As you can see that, so she spent a short time in Yale, so but she was able to study the drama of the Department of Stage Arts. Stage art. I think it maybe is also because the influence about her former experience, right, to play for the show for the Tegro's poem. And her husband, actually her boyfriend during that time, so he continued study. She actually was able to study architecture in Pennsylvania, and later he also was able to study Harvard University to try to do a PhD for Oriental architecture during that time. And actually, during their study, the father, which also a very famous philosopher or a very famous scholar from China, Liang Qicao, so he was find a very, very old book, called 营造法师. So in China, so he get this copy and then he sent to Liang Sichen and Lin Huiyin because this is a very old, like you see the 12th century Chinese treatise on architecture. Basically, no one can read this book, So basically, the father hope his son can able to know this book and can get more about the Chinese tradition architecture during that time. So this also motivate Liang and Ling, to dedicate in the future to actually they not for design the buildings, but also to study about the history of the architecture in China. I think this book or this mission also gives them a lot of inspirations. So they get married in Canada, and then this new couples they decide to make a honeymoon, actually back to Europe. It's also a very important journey for them. Why? Because during the honeymoon they was able to visit all this architecture in Europe. Basically, they go to Italy, UK, Germany, Spain, France, and Switzerland again. So they also to visit the different like buildings and historic architecture, which also able to help them to think about right how to study for the architecture history for China, which was completely empty during that time. Yeah, during that moment. So then basically I go to the third chapter concerning about their career. So basically they finished their university. So and they want to start their first job in the republishing of China. So what they do, so actually it's very interesting because they actually the first job what they get in China is to fund the university at the department. So and they actually fund the first department of architecture in China. Even the department was actually very short. It's only 3 years in China because of the war. The Japanese invasion China. So basically they have to be closed. But somehow the young couple, so both of them was be how to say to be the professor and also the founder of the department. They also do everything to establish a new department. They also recruit other staff from the University of Pennsylvania and other universities, you can see the team growing very bigger, right? So the student and also the staff already enlarged a lot in the 3 years. And even it's very short, it's only 3 years, but this young couples, in particularly Lin Huiyin, I can show what she achieved. So of course, so she was reported to give public lectures during that time in her former hometown about architecture, literature, and garden art during that time. And she also developed a theater project in Fuzhou, it's another city in the South China, to attribute to her early design activity. And Lin Huiyin was also be recorded as a teaching aesthetics and architectural design or history of the decorative art and professional English, as in the Northeastern University of the Department of Architecture. And Lin Huiyin was also participate and also the architectural firm and design and planning the work of building the complex of the northeastern of China. So here was the actual logo of the university. So as you can see, Lin Huiyin was also able to be design the logo for the university, which was also very impressive. And he also painting a lot. So in this time, so this is a watercolor painting. So he painting her hometown. And during that time, very importantly, she also become a mother. So her first daughter also get burned during that time in the established in this young department of China for the architecture. So this is to show her early achievement. And also in the 1930s, which was also in her 26 years older or early 30s. So she developed a lot in architecture, literature, and design art. So first, I show you as a member of the Society for Research in Chinese Architecture. So she and her husband conduct a major field surveys a lot in China. So they visit different cities. They actually check a lot of old architectural buildings China, which was very important, because in the Second World War, actually, there are so many countries and so many cities was be destroyed. So their work was actually very important to preserve, these historic buildings. And they also published and also co-authored a lot of architectural researchers. And she also helped to build modern Chinese architectural history. And one of the most important finding that he was really the one in the summer of 1937. So she discovered the oldest wooden structure in China in this Wutai mountain in the Shanxi, for the Foguang Temple. So which was was the building in the Tang Dynasty, because during that time people don't believe that we still have we don't know what was the oldest, wooden structure building was kept in China. So Lin Huiyin, this is like the working picture as you can show here. So she and her husband was the first one to find this wooden temple in China. And this is also to show some more photos what they are working together. Yeah. And on the same time, so she was also sick, so she was as a patient in rehab. So she actually used the way of writing. I think writing was also like her medicine, so he actually do a lot of scholarly writing, so which was be contribute to research texts and reports for the Society for the Research in Chinese Architecture. So he also wrote the architecture not only for the structure, but also for culture and historic form. So because if you read Chinese, I think Lin Huiyin really make the beauty or the very, emotional and also this literature writing for this architecture research articles. And she also helped shape the language through which Chinese architecture could be studied academically. For example, you can see that they note for the 营造法式 during that time, it's a lot of work. And also for the literature written, so Lin Huiyin, she actually read a lot of poetry and prose. And she also known for the lyrical elegance and also emotional resistance. So during her writing, she also explored memory, love, loss, and everyday perception, and she showed a strong sensitivity to space, light, and atmosphere. As you can show that he written about his 6-year-old memory during that time. and combine the personal reflection with culture and the intellectual depths. So I think one of the important concept I want to share here is that in Chinese we call it 建筑意, and it's Lin Huiyin and Liang Sichen's architectural concept. So, or the architectural intent or the spirit of architecture. So, which they described more than the formal beauty or the technical construction, but also architecture should be evoked as a distinguished human response, and structure can be generated with pleasure, feeling, and meaning. The traditional buildings are works of art with spirit, not merely technical objectives. So for this is also important to me because I also doing the well-being oriented research. So I think this is also clear for me that Lin Huiyin has this concept of philosophy to show that space for happiness and for the well-being. And this is also to show you a watercolor painting by Liang Sichen and to show a Tang Dynasty like temple, right? It is, I think for me, this is a very elegant and beautiful painting during that time and also during the wartime. So, and also on the other side, as I want to show you, Lin Huiyin as a scholar and also as a mother. So she really takes serious, to her children. As you can see that she's painting or writing to her daughter because she has to go to work, right? So therefore, her daughter miss her. So she explained to her daughter she painting something funny because she wanted to, to try to persuade her daughter not to read too much, otherwise he will get a glass. And she also tried to draw a map to explain how her work, for her 8-year-old daughter. So he make mapping how she and her husband, the team visiting different cities in China for the field service in China. I think this is also a very good example how a woman, right, a woman scientist, a woman architect to balance the family and also the career as a mother and also a scholar. Also importantly, so Lin Huiyin and Liang Sichen, they also have a very broad networking for the friends. They have a broad friend networking from science, from literacy, from philosophy, from different field. And here just want to show you her lifetime friends, So this is also a couple from United States. I think maybe some of you heard about them. So this is Weimar Firebank and also John Firebank. So they are the artist, the scholar for Chinese art, architecture, and also the John Firebank. So she's also a very famous American historian of Chinese and United States. So for the China relationships. So actually the young couples, they know the Liang and Lin also in their early time in Beijing. So immediately they become very good friends, I think because of their education in States and also their love for the Chinese art and the culture. And actually they, in the later time, so even they back to United States, but the two couples, they write a lot of letters. All these letters actually between the couples are very precious materials and documentations for the research of the architecture history and cultural heritage in China. So this only to show you some letters that they written with each other. And very, very touching is that they are not friends, but also for the Weimar, so she's really written the book for this couple. So she really written about Liang and Lin and to show how their contribution to the Chinese historic architecture exploration and also to introduce the experience about American cultural experiment in China. So, and also later, so she even helped Liang Sichen to publish a very important book called A Pictorial History of Chinese Architecture. So this is really because of this great friendship between these couples. And however, the beautiful time was very short. So we could not forget that actually during that time is also the war of the resistance against Japan in China heavily influenced Liang and Lin's work and also about their health. So entire family was lost their cozy home in Beijing and they moved through the Society for the Research in Chinese Architecture go to the middle of China, as you can see the map here, to Changsha. So Peter, maybe you know the city, right? So, and then they also go to the south of China, Yunnan, Kunming. And then they also moved to a very small village called Lizhuang, so they really traveled the whole China, I would say, during the war time. But however, they also made the research during that time, which was very, very, very difficult, challenging, and very precious. So I want to show a photo here because actually, as I told you, so during the limitation of the war, so Lin Huiyin as a hashtag, she cannot, make the real design work so much, but I think it's very importantly because this is the only house she designed and construct for her own and her family, even it's a very short time. So as you can see that, so she really start from zero, so, and with a very low budget, so she made the home in Yunnan. So, and this experience also actually bring her close to the realities of everyday living, likely informed her the thinking on how architecture could be respond to the climate, material, and social need. So the building was actually very good kept in Yunnan. So if you visit Kunming, so you can also visit there. So this is the home what they spent a very short time in Kunming, but still be kept nowadays. On the other side, as I told you, from medical part, right? So we could not ignore that Lin Huiyin was also a patient during that time. So actually, so she was fighting a long time, almost 25 years with the and tuberculosis, so which was also a very severe disease during that time. So actually, as I read from the book, so I think like 1 month he was suffering very severely with a high fever, no medicament, so and during the war she almost died, but luckily she was survived. And during the time you can see that. So after this disease, so her kidney was also be injured, get infection. So he could actually most of her time was lying on the bed, but she still continued to doing the research work. As you can see here. So later, Liang Sicheng was able to publish this Chinese architectural art and architecture. So this book was published by Liang Sicheng in the 1946, but actually in the preface, so she has a big paragraph to show that finally, gratitude due to my wife, colleague, and former classmate Lin Huiyin, who was more than 20 years contribute to the work and actually accomplished him mostly of the field trips and made important discoveries, measured and draw a great number of buildings and had brought to the track and fortitude. In spirit of although he was very sick, but the imager shared in keeping up the spirit and also the motto of the institute throughout incredibly hard work years. So without her collaboration and inspiration, neither this volume or any of work in the study of Chinese actual would be ever possible. So basically, when she's very severe as a patient, so she still support a lot of her husband's work to finish this book. And later we go to the last part, so which you can see that so and with the final years, of her life is the mission, which he was be able to appointed as a professor, also the founder of architecture in the Department of Tsinghua University in China, where you can see that he was able to be the co-design for the national album design for our country, and he was also to design the monument to the people's heroes. So this is also a very important building. In Beijing, if you visit there, you will see one of her design work there. And he also advocacy for the preservation of Beijing's historical architecture during the early urban plan. Here, just want to show you that he was also trying to rescue the very old, artwork called Jing Tailan. So, which was how to say, she realized that this work, if be not rescued, would be disappeared. So, which Lin Huiyin also do a lot of work on this to show her student, to rescue this art and also to make later contributions. So give you a summary here. So Lin Huiyin as a Chinese first female architecture. So he really did a lot of fundamental work for the Chinese like architecture history. And in art, he also do her fundamental work like porcelain, like a reference, and also the interdisciplinary creativity for her work. for literature. So she write a lot of how to say poet, and also to make the books, and also to make her architecture work more fundamentally. Beauty in form, depth in thought, and warmth in the word. So to summary up, so this is all to show you like her lifetime friend Vima Fanbeck, to show that Lin Huiyin is an artist by nature, an architect by training, and a poet by vocation. And as you can see here, in 1947, Princeton University awarded Liang Sichen to an honorary doctor degree, to show that as a statement for a creative architect who has also been a teacher of architectural history, a pioneer in historic research and exploration in Chinese architecture and planning, and a leader in the restoration and preservation of the precious monuments of his country. So in my mind, this achievement and honor also belong to Lin Huiyin. So yeah, so in the end, I hope that my lecture to give you a short summary about this amazing lady. And also this is like a very famous poem he showing that how showed springtime, because now this is exactly in the April. And actually she was also passed away in the beginning of April. So this is like a really like a moment time for her. And yeah, so basically I hope that you are have an impression on Lin Huiyin, Chinese first architecture, and also be a legendary figure in art and science. I think this is also to show a very good spirit for our academy. Yeah. So, and this is again for the books and reference. You want to know more, you can check here. And thank you very much for your time and attention.
Well,
Thank you.
That was a great insight. Summarized really in this one quote of Wilma Fairbanks. You are a complete human being, but at the same time there are different building blocks, and it's exciting if people are in this situation to combine them and not to fall apart in different parts. Yeah, thanks very much again. And now I immediately pass on to Pavlos. I introduced you before briefly, and I guess you will talk indirectly at least about what you are, who you are during the talk. Give the floor to you.
Thank you, Peter. My deep thanks go to Yanis Lirigis, good friend of mine and colleague, and of course to Violeta. We had very productive conversations before I took the chance to present my work here in this series. So without delaying any further, the title of my presentation is Resonant Being, Homo sapiens sapiens and the Sound of Sacred Consciousness. Let me begin with a provocation. What if humans are not primarily thinking beings, but resonant beings? Let us take a look at the conventional definitions of Homo sapiens sapiens. All humans belong biologically to the species Homo sapiens, sometimes specified as the subspecies Homo sapiens sapiens. This is the being that reflects on her reflections. Terms such as Homo faber, Homo economicus, Homo ludens, and Homo religiosus are not scientific classifications, but conceptual and philosophical descriptions. Each highlights a different fundamental aspect of human existence, such as making, speaking, deciding, playing, and seeking meaning. They do not divide humanity into separate types. Rather, they describe complementary dimensions of the same human being, all coexisting within the single biological species. My thesis is humans are vibrational, rhythmic, and acoustic organisms. Let me define 3 key terms. Resonance. Resonance is a dynamic state of attunement in which a system, physical, emotional, or relational, responds strongly to a corresponding frequency or presence, resulting in amplification, coherence, or
Pavlos, sorry, Pavlos, are you sharing any slides or not?
No.
No
This
slides.
is only oral presentation.
All right. Perfect. Sorry. Thank
Okay.
you.
Let me go back. So, resonance is a dynamic state of attunement in which a system, physical, emotional, or relational, responds strongly to a corresponding frequency or presence, resulting in amplification, coherence, or mutual alignment. Consciousness. Consciousness is the capacity for awareness of self, others, and the surrounding world, encompassing perception, experience, thought, and the ability to reflect upon them. Then the notion of the sacred, lived or experiential, not doctrinal. The sacred is that which is directly felt as deeply meaningful, alive, and worthy of reverence. An immediate sense of depth, connection, or presence that transforms ordinary experience without reliance on formal beliefs or doctrines. Now, step number 2, the primacy of sound. Sound precedes language. In evolution and development, it is encountered as a prenatal auditory experience, as a rhythm before meaning. Sound is an embodied experience. It is felt, not just heard. A crucial distinction here between acoustic cognition versus symbolic cognition. Acoustic cognition is a mode of knowing, grounded in sound, rhythm, tone, and resonance. It emphasizes direct, embodied, and relational experience. How meaning is felt and perceived through vibration, listening, and attunement rather than abstract representation. Symbolic cognition is a mode of knowing based on symbols, such as language, numbers, and signs, where meaning is constructed through representation, abstraction, and logical relationships, rather than immediate sensory experience. The key claim here is consciousness emerges through patterned vibration. Pattern vibration is a structured, repeatable organization of oscillations, such as sound, movement, or energy, characterized by rhythm, frequency, and form, through which coherence and meaning can emerge and be perceived. Step number 3, archaeology of early soundscapes. Studies of sound in prehistoric ritual environments, looking at caves as acoustic chambers, investigating early instruments such as flutes, percussion instruments. They all focus on echo, reverberation, and altered perception. Collective sound making yields chant, rhythm, entrainment. Sound as a technology of consciousness. This is an interesting approach whereby sound can be understood as a means of shaping awareness, using rhythm, tone, and vibration to influence attention, emotion, and states of consciousness. Let us now link ritual sound, shared identity, and proto-symbolic thought. Repeated, patterned sounds in ritual, chant, rhythm, call and response, synchronize attention and emotion, creating a sense of collective belonging, that shared identity. Over time, these sounds come to stand for shared meanings and experiences, forming stable associations that function as early representations. That's proto-symbolic thought. Step number 4, from sound to symbol. Humanity has witnessed a major transition from vibration to meaning, the emergence of myth, narrative, and inner speech. The perception of language as, quote, frozen music, end of quote. Language can be understood as crystallized sound, rhythm, tone, and melody, stabilized into fixed patterns, words and grammar, in which the fluid expressiveness of music becomes structured meaning. The dynamics of recursive patterns, from repetition to memory to abstraction. The key idea here is symbol systems retain acoustic roots. Step number 5, the sacred dimension of sound. The sacred sound across cultures appears as chant, mantra, invocation. Sound as mediating the relationship between self and the community, human and cosmos. Vibration is understood as ontology, reality experienced as frequency. The voice is seen as a sacred instrument. Silence is then a part of the resonance. Step number 6, neuroscience and cognitive perspectives. Brain entrainment and rhythmic synchronization. The alignment of neural activity with external rhythms, like sound or movement, leads to coordinating timing in perception, attention, and behavior. Music and neural integration. Music engages and coordinates multiple brain systems, sensory, emotional, motor, and cognitive, promoting unified, coherent processing across the brain. Inner speech as internalized resonance. Inner speech can be understood as the silent echo of external sound, an internalized rhythm and tone that sustains thought as a form of inward listening. Sound shaping emotion, memory, identity. Thus, consciousness can be seen as a dynamic, rhythmic process. Step number 7, Homo sapiens as a resonant being. We are now reframing the human, not just symbolic, but sonic symbolic. Personhood as emergent from repetition, rhythm, relational resonance. Culture seen as acoustic architecture. Culture can be understood as a structured field of shared sounds, rhythms, and resonances that shape perception, interaction, and collective meaning. Step number 8, implications and contemporary relevance. Modern disconnection from sound and embodiment, a condition in which attention shifts away from lived sensory experience, especially sound and bodily awareness, toward abstract, mediated, and screen-based forms of engagement. Noise versus meaningful resonance. Noise is random or chaotic signals lacking coherence or shared meaning. Meaningful resonance is structured, attuned patterns of sound or vibration that align perception and carry significance. Reclaiming sound practices yields listening, chanting, music making. Thus, consciousness can be seen as an ongoing attunement. Consciousness can be understood as a continuous process of aligning with internal and external rhythms, enabling awareness through dynamic, responsive resonance. So, to return to the opening question, what if humans are not primarily thinking beings, but resonant beings? Here is the final idea. We are not just beings who speak, we are beings who resonate. And I would like to invite you to listen differently, to experience consciousness as vibration unfolding. And to end my presentation, I would like to share with you a different piece of literature, Resonance and Reverberation. Trembling of the unseen, resonant awe, pulses of mirroring, being unveiled, revealed anew, awakening, echoes of sighing, lost in oblivion, remembering, breath returning to breathe. Resonance calls, the bridge of the four unseen, the song of the old, the twin of the void, humming beneath creation's veil, telling the tale of all. The aftersound of light, the descending word, reverberating hush, moving through form. Stone, water, bone and dream, stories of beings, ripples of thought, echoes of traces, sounds of words, reverberating, aberration of oblivion, imaging being, remembering, meaning returns to silence. The snake bites its tail, the tale of mystics, and ending in beginning anew. Resonate in union, the call and its answering flame. Reverberate in holy persistence, echoes of memory, surrender, remembering, back to oblivion, back to the source. echo. Resonance thickens into return, roots drink without sound, the earth keeps time beneath the step, breath leans toward its origin. What was uttered falls back into forming silence. The world exhales, not as a song, but as a recollection. Stillness gathers, sound prepares. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much for this presentation, which needs, in a way, some silence to resonate. Anyway, let's begin with a discussion, and please raise your hand whenever you have to say something, want to ask something, want to say something.
Yeah.
Dušan.
I have a question for both, but first, Barry. One sentence was quite interesting, that architecture is a kind of crystallization of nations' art and essence. Do you think that this still holds? I think that's very important. If you look back in history, I agree completely. But if I look at New China, or let's say Dubai, or any other place, there's no crystallization of national culture, but are we moving to, let's say, global culture? Or how would you interpret that? Because it's clear, if you see any picture, every city looks the same now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, to be honest, right? So, I mean, before when we talk architecture is always combined with the beauty and function. But nowadays, I think with the globalization, it's really turned to another direction. Yeah, I feel that some building may be preserved, right? But some building maybe they will be disappeared in 20, 30 years later, right? So yeah, so I think that for those buildings or architecture which really combine with the culture or the symbolization can be stay. Yeah.
Yeah, but the new buildings do not emerge. New buildings don't represent national culture, or the national culture disappeared and becomes global.
Yeah. So I feel that for those, maybe they can only call as a building, right? They will not be called as the art or to call as a real architectural piecework.
And I have a question for Pavlos about resonating. Let's say the sound resonates. The silence resonates too. So I know what's in behind, but let's say I know what's behind in visual cortex. If you see the light, close your eyes, you will have many images that will somehow come out of the original image. And what would be, you said it resonates. I have a problem with resonating in neuroscientific understanding, because if you look at sound, it's not the frequency and the amplitude are not what we perceive is not linear, but it's exponential. How would it fit in?
So
let's say in concept?
So what is your question?
The question is, how would you interpret neuroscientific approach, saying resonance, which is not exactly, if you look at activity in brain regions, they do not exactly resonate the frequency of sound. So what did you actually mean by a resonance?
Listen, there is the approach to resonance is multi-disciplinary. Okay? In my own work, I have studied the resonance as an anthropologist, meaning they investigated this issue among different cultures, and also gone deeply into what you would call, which is the essence actually of the lecture, the sacred aspect of human consciousness, the sacred aspect. What is this aspect? This implies the culmination of human intelligence according to different cultures, their mystical traditions, say Tao, Sufi, Hinduist mystical traditions, ancient Greek traditions, shamanic traditions, they all converge to demonstrating this capacity of the human being to develop a station of consciousness that goes beyond rational thinking or emotional thinking. And this is intuition. Through intuition and beyond intuition, the whole apparatus of the human mind changes. So everything we are accustomed to look at in a specific way is altered, is changed. Now, this is why I didn't have the time to develop the argument how humans develop a kind of intelligence that is hermeneutical. They interpret the world by reinterpreting their interpretations. Phenomenological, that is, sometimes they come across a realization where the flow of ideas is stopped, it's crystallized. So there is the emergence of the experience, and then they realize that they live in a different mental world, and even beyond that, where there is no self-other bifurcation through intuition. So this is a long story. So to go back to your question, resonance here, I'm mostly interested beyond frequencies, beyond even vibration, is this quivering that happens in an unmediated manner and is reported in different traditions of the world.
Yeah, this way of resonance makes sense. Yeah, I just want to make clear whether it's physical or metaphysical. Okay, thank you.
But it remains physical. My view of it is not. This is not metaphysics. The nature of it is not to be found in another realm. It's always physical, but supraphysical, more developed, in the sense of our intelligence unfolds in deeper levels of understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mainzer? Mr. Mainzer, your floor.
Me, yeah. Thank you. Now, I have also two short questions to both speakers. And the first is going to Barry. And it is really impressive to see that the period between the two world wars, the First World War and the Second World War, was an amazing time of peaceful, intercultural, and scientific interchange, especially for China. It is impressive to see how the cultural and scientific interchange was especially realized between China and the United States. It's amazing. That's with Lin. That's only one example in architecture. There are a lot of examples of this kind. Now, very concretely, the question concerning the first architect Lin. What is her special style in architecture? Was she, for example, influenced by the European style? You know, in Germany, the Bauhaus style came up, which was very influential in the 20th, even in the early 21st century. And is there any influence of this new style exactly in that time, the Weimar culture in Germany and in Europe, to her architecture work? And the question to Professor Kavouras is also very short, a little bit provocative. Why do we need consciousness in order to understand resonance awareness? My background here is robotics and AI. There are realization nowadays in the embodiment and without any consciousness. But these entities, for example, robots, embodied robots, they have a kind of resonance awareness and especially of sound awareness, but without consciousness in the human sense. And that is also true for many animals I see in the evolution. Now, these two questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Klaus. So concerning for your question, I think it's actually very important, for Ling to have this experience, to study in the United States and also see this architectural history in Europe. So I think this is also somehow like a reflection, right? So basically, so he see what was outside and then he realized, okay, what precious inside it is. So I think it all have a lot of evidence I didn't show here today. Basically, in her like a diary or in her letter to writing to the friends, so she really mentioned about, for example, Da Vinci, and she also actually mentioned about Bauhaus. If you notice about the picture, right, she designed for her own house in Kunming, right? So the style was actually very simple, it's like a modern house style. This is also, I think it will be also influenced by the time when he visited, actually also stay in Cologne and very shortly. So basically, I think during that time he visiting Germany and also get influenced by the Bauhaus masters. I think he also get influenced by the German architecture during that time. Yeah, so, but somehow I think importantly because of this book, what I showed is 营造法式, because this is a very old architecture book, because like during that time we don't have a system in China for study architecture, but actually in the former time, which we don't call them architecture, but they do have some old techniques, the old wooden structure, but just people don't understand that. So Lin Huiyin and Liang Sichen, they choose to, in different field in architecture, they want to know the history of the Chinese architecture. I think this is also to know the traditions, but then can also create new, how to say, innovations. Yeah, so I feel that she get big influence by the Western style, but he also find a new way, to design. As you can see, he designed this and the artwork, and also he designed this the people's heroes squares. So that was actually combined the modern style, but also with decoration of the Chinese, traditional culture symbolism. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, my turn. Why do we need consciousness? Because I take it, following all those people, I have either studied their traditions or talked to them and gone deeply into their endeavors, that consciousness is the culmination of human activity, namely self-reflexivity. If Homo sapiens sapiens is our true ancestor, we believe this being is our ancestor, this being has the capacity to reflect while reflecting, to feel while feeling. Therefore, it has, through natural selection, through evolution, the ability to live in choice, have choice, because self-reflection endows humanity with choice. Choice can be of two kinds. That's where consciousness is necessary, and it establishes itself as a primary condition for humanity. Either reproduce egoity. What is egoity? The illusion of being, cultivated through this duality, subject and object. You said you deal with AI, but there is a subject behind the work you're doing, behind the interpreting you're furnishing, and there is always an object related to your endeavors. So subject and object, they lead intelligence to a pseudo fake understanding of being. So consciousness in this sense implies a heightened awareness where the being, Homo sapiens sapiens, can experience meta-consciousness, consciousness about consciousness. You see, Klaus, consciousness is always about something, a human being, an object, whether embodied or imaginary, about something. But consciousness can also be about itself, consciousness about consciousness. This I take, and a few others along with me, to be the true essence of humanity. And another thing that was brought up in the discussion, why buildings look alike, Dušan brought this up, and where is the national spirit difference in architectural endeavors? You see, there is this problem between technology and culture. Technology and culture. Technology is a product of culture. I take culture as an anthropologist to be the set of rules and the ideas according to which a set of people, society, live, and they pass from generation to generation their knowledge. Okay? So when technology becomes huge, big, then culture cannot absorb the technological progress, quote unquote. So the balance is lost. That's why we cannot see the national element in contemporary mega architecture. And that's why we need, more than ever today, this interface between AI and HI, as I call it, human intelligence. Because human intelligence, through our own nature, has this element of self-reflection, of going beyond hallucination. Whether we end up hallucinating and missing the goal, this is one thing, but we have the capacity to go beyond hallucination and illusory perception of the world.
Okay, deep stuff. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's the problem is that artificial intelligence is now combined with human stupidity, not human intelligence. That's what we see, what's going on. But I have something, not a question, not for anybody, but to suggest, Klaus, that maybe we have a kind of discussion of consciousness in machines and self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh,
if a machine can become aware of itself, it will
yeah, yeah.
develop consciousness, I think.
Not only machines, but I think in evolution, highly developed organisms, they have a sound awareness, and you can even measure that. And in that sense, they have even some kind of what we call feelings. But these animals or organisms do not have what we call consciousness with this kind of self-reflection. That
And,
was my point. Self-reflection is a good term. And
and
self-reflection is typical for human, but the self-awareness of feelings and emotions, I think that can also be found in highly developed animals and organisms without having this kind of consciousness. That was my point. And the people in robotics now are trying to realize these, let me say, less development of awareness, because it has some important function for robots to be self-aware and even to have some kind of feelings, but not the ambition goal to have consciousness.
I only
That was
give
the point.
a very short comment, and then I will stop. I will not speak anymore. But I think when robots will have to work with themselves to make a kind of community to take a problem, then they will have to develop self-awareness and maybe consciousness too. We'll see. Now I'm finished.
Okay.
Yeah, Jakob.
Yes, thank you for these two nice presentations. I have only one question to Pavlos Kavouras. And I was wondering, because you were doing this differentiation between the acoustic and the symbolic, and also between resonance and noise. And I wanted to make maybe a provocative question. Does that exclude, for example, dissonance also? Because I'm coming from music, and I just thought I was last week because of Easter in the Johannes Passion by Bach, and there the beginning is very going emotionally directly to the body because of the sharp dissonances in the oboes. And I thought maybe the consciousness or the reflection comes also because we can see that not everything is in resonance, or maybe advocatus diaboli here. But what are your thoughts on that?
So Jakob, what is the question? I mean, rephrase the question.
Does your notion on resonance is in opposition to dissonance, or does it could it be included, or is there? Okay.
Yeah, resonance, as I tried to explain earlier, is a coordination, is a coexistence, is a togetherness, feeling of togetherness, is harmonization. Now, at this point, the Greek language is very rich. Unfortunately, I cannot demonstrate. There are like at least five words, all derivatives of sound. So there is something that sonates, something that responds to this sonic cause, andichisi. Then there is anichisi, the reverberation. Then there is apichisi, what resonates with you. I say something and this resonates with you deeply inside without knowing how. Then there is another word, sinandihisi. There is a source of sound, then through echo or through stimulation, this sound is being matched by reflections. Now, this can be noise or can be a harmonized juxtaposition of sonic responses, either to the one or many different voices, sonic expressions, that make a coherent, integrated whole. Now, why Bach's dissonance is so telling and so engaging? Because I take it that this is due to the genius of Bach. He has a view of wholeness. So when he goes out to create different constellations of sonic complexes, he knows how to return. He knows how to bring it all back, either on the way of expressing his dissonant harmonies or engaging the listener with something that goes beyond dissonance. And this is harmony. This is consonance, but on the bigger picture, not note after note, not, in the process of creating a melody. So resonance here works as a understanding of an awareness that brings differentiative, which means differentiated and differentiating, sonic argument, expression, brings it to an integrative reality, integrated and integrating. So the differentiation and integration, they match one another, balancing one another in a harmonious togetherness.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands up anymore, so it seems that we came to the end just in time, because usually we should finish by 7:30, and now it's 7:27. And I think that everybody enjoyed this evening very much. It was very inspiring, and I'm looking forward for many, many more colloquia like this. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Just one comment. Just one comment. I thought actually I would close, but
okay. You can close too. Sorry.
Just one comment on the architecture. I traveled, I don't know how many thousands kilometers recently in China, and I think there is still very much a national cultural reflection. Now, it is not the traditional one, but it adapts Chinese thinking, if you want, with a new approach to integrating architecture and nature. So I cannot invite you personally, giving you the flight ticket, but I would like to invite you to look at these dimensions of new architecture in China. You are right. On the one hand, it's this, and Yue is right. On the one hand, you find this globalization, everything looks the same. At the same time, we have differences there, and this encourages me as well with this work here to bring back culture into technical dimensions in this way. Sorry for that I wanted to add this. So I continue with what you said. Thanks very much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.